IDA since its inception and have served as its Secretary General since the start. I've dedicated myself these many years to IDA's success, and I've been privileged to witness the growth of our industry into one that helps provide fresh, clean water to more than 300 million people each day. It is truly an honor to be part of IDA and to have played a role in its continued development as the leading global association dedicated to desalination and water reuse. I wish to extend sincere thanks for the contribution you have made to our association and our industry at large. Please join me in celebrating IDA's 40 years of excellence. I hope you will enjoy this collection. Thank you.
We are celebrating this year in Tianjin 40 years anniversary of International Desalination Association. I want to think of this anniversary not only as a date, but the achievement of 40 years of service to the industry. In these 40 years, IDA has changed face, adjusting to the needs of the industry, and has become a real global organization. I want to think that in all this period, with all the efforts of the fantastic staff that we have in Towsfield, and particularly to Patricia Burke, of all the IDA directors, we had achieved a lot in terms of humanitarian supports to the community that suffers from water shortage, training, in particular the development of the IDA Academy. We have achieved the possibility of bringing at large a message of water importance in the frame of a sustainable water productions. And in all these endeavors, the International Desalination Association has been gradually assuming a much more leading role. I am extremely proud of having served as a president of the International Desalination Association in this tenure.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. The scarcity of water in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia forces us to search for alternatives for the natural sources. Therefore, we have started with desalination process in 1929. Based on a simple seawater desalination device, the first plant was constructed in Al-Wajj city in the year 1969. And ever since, there has been expansions and achievements in this respect, as we are now operating 27 plants located in 16 sites using 3 technology, MSF, RO, and MED. Our relationship in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with the International Desalination Association, IDA, represent a solid partnership. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has also hosted a number of conferences and workshops organized by the association. This is based on our belief of the association's role in regard to the research, development, and desalination. Knowledge dissemination in the world, and I personally was honored by representing the association in the MENA region for the current and the last board. And I would like to confirm that we in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia shall continue our participation and unlimited and effective support in the association's activities and whatever activity help to develop the desalination industry worldwide.
Hello, my name is Bill Andrews, and I've been a member of IDA, or one of its precursors, since 1974. I attended a meeting in St. Croix in December 1974 of the International Desalination and Environmental Association. It was a small meeting of about 30 people. IDEA then later merged with NWISIA to become the International Desalination Association. At that time, the market was very small, with maybe only about 30 manufacturers of desalination plants in the world. And they were located primarily in the US and Europe. Since that time, the desalination market has grown significantly in size, in the scope of its products, and in its international nature. That growth is in no small part due to the efforts of IDA in communications, its congresses, education, and other activities. I anticipate that the market will continue to grow and that the scope of the products will also increase, and believe that IDA has a significant role for the future of desalination. I wish IDA a very happy 40th birthday, and my thanks go out to all of those who have made IDA such a success.
IDA, International Desalination Association, was born long ago, 40 years ago, in 1973, and since then grew exponentially in their role in desalination and water reuse world. In 1973, which was the beginning of predecessor of IDA and WSIA, I was elected to the board in 1975, a long time ago, and served as a director of IDA since then. I saw through the period of time tremendous growth in the industry, in the desalination world, from project which at the time was just beginning of commercial desalination to huge project of today, over 1 million cubic meters per day, like Al Khair in Saudi Arabia. We saw tremendous development in desalination technology, from first projects in reverse osmosis, large MSF plant, multi-stage flash, and lately tremendous growth in multi-effect distillation. And we saw combination of membrane and thermal processes, what we call hybrid desalination technology. I think the IDA play a dramatic role in bringing to focus importance of desalination as a source and of new water. And in reality, desalination is the only hope for future generation to provide sustainable water at price affordable to many people around the world. I have the pleasure to be in charge of IDA Technical Programs Committee for many years, since 1991, and the activities of the technical program resulted in many conferences, specialized subjects from innovation in desalination to water reuse to energy aspects of desalination. As a matter of fact, energy becomes a very important topic, energy and environment, and we created Energy Task Force, which goal is to reduce energy consumption in the major desalination process by 20% by year 2015. And a group of internationally renowned engineers, professors, scientists, and utilities members working on developing the guidelines to achieve that goal of reduction in energy. We also focus on environment, and environmental task force basically conducted its activity in concern with first conference on environmental aspects of the Gulf in Middle Eastern Gulf waters. We will continue to add to the education program. As a result, last year we started IDA Desalination Academy, and I have the honor to be interim dean of the academy. We now progress from initial courses around the world in desalination to try to achieve a graduate level agreement so we could conduct and develop master degree in desalination. We will be doing that with Heriot-Watt University of Edinburgh, and potentially will develop a three-party agreement in China with Tianjin University, Heriot-Watt, and IDA to issue both graduate degree and postdoctorate degree in desalination. So that's really, in simple terms, where we are driving today both technology to achieve reduction in desalination costs, reduce cost of energy, cost of equipment, looking at new technologies in application of desalination technology in new areas. Example of that, we conducted recently in Banff, Canada, a conference on application of desalination technology for petroleum gas industry. And the industrial application of desalination will take a major role in near future, particularly in the United States, where shale gas become a revolutionary change in energy industry. And for fracking operation, we need water, and the water which comes back in form of flowback is high salinity, contaminated organic, and desalination is the solution for the potential reuse and minimizing of disposal problem of such water. So I see tremendous changes in desalination technology. There will be tremendous focus on new membrane technique, on new distillation processes. There will be developments from graphene membrane to use of renewable energy in desalination. All of that, the goal is to reduce cost and provide water to all the people of the world.
Well, my history with IDA started in Ponce, Puerto Rico in 1973, when the first meeting of IDEA was held. the International Desalination and Environment Association. And however, my life in desalination started before that. In '65, really, when I started the journal Desalination. The first issue appeared in 1966, and I started because my background being chemistry, I was editing scientific journals, and I just said, I'll make another one. So I started it in '66. There was one volume that year, and then in 2009, there were 16 volumes a year. This reflected the growth of the field. The first conference I attended in 1967 in Athens, there was a series of conferences established by Professor Anthony Delianis on fresh water from the sea, and that was part of the European Federation of Chemical Engineering. The first conference that I attended, or that was established together with the European Federation in Ida, was in 1983. And we were together, the Working Party on Freshwater from the Sea of the European Federation of Chemical Engineering, and the Italian Society, the French Society, the UK Society, German, but we had this together. Then we had another meeting together in, I published the meeting in Bermuda. Another meeting we had together was in Cannes, France, and then in Kuwait. By that time, IDEA had become IDA, and each organization was growing. And then there was so much for everyone, so that then IDA had its meeting on its own, and the European Federation, which then became EDS, had some meetings. Now, a lot was developing around the world. IDA became the international organization, and we all became affiliates to IDA. However, there were separate meetings in different countries and different areas of the world. Now, I see desalination through people, papers, and events. So, the papers, I have a lot of statistics about the papers. I published, at least 12,000 papers, and maybe saw 20,000 before, which were reviewed, but about 12,000 of them published over these years. And this gives a very good reflection on the field and the people and the countries. It started with just about 25 countries, and at the end there were about 116 papers from over 116 countries in the world. IDA contributed a lot to this by having these wonderful big conferences, also the exhibits, which brought in industry and the knowledge of what was happening in industry. Industry took over from the research funding, in the States especially, the Office of Saline Water and then the Office of Water Research and Technology were funding the research. Started a website, desline.com, and that was really based on my address book. I had a card file, and then in the 80s, when computers started to take over, then started to put my addresses into the directory. So you can find now about 33,000 items. Of those, about 28,000 individuals and 5,000 companies, organizations, universities, government institutions. Also access to the journal, which I now edit and publish, the Desalination and Water Treatment. You can access the abstracts. I did, as I mentioned, I published a number of the conferences of IDA, which now are in volumes of desalination.
Let's break it into sort of 5 parts. The easy first part is just the growth in installed capacity worldwide. I mean, this is nothing short of spectacular. There have been little blips in it due to changes in the world economy or oil prices or material prices. It hasn't been a steady curve, but it has been a spectacular growth, both in new plant sales and in installed capacity. Okay, that's the easy part, the quickie. And you can look at these numbers up in the inventory or global water intelligence, whatever you want. Everybody has seen these numbers. The second part that's fun is to think about the changes in the commercial players. When Nuissia was born, in those days, one of the great names was Permuted. Highest name recognition of anybody in the water treatment business, and they are completely gone now. No one remembers Permuted. DuPont was becoming a powerhouse in reverse osmosis. They're out of the business. Dow, which is now RO membrane powerhouse, was still making hollow fiber membranes in Walnut Creek, California. They hadn't yet purchased Filmtech. Filmtech hadn't even been formed yet, and now today is perhaps the Dow may be the top seller. These companies come and they go, some through acquisition, divestiture, bankruptcy, new venture capital moves in. The cast of characters is fascinating. Just watch how that is played over time. The technology has, of course, changed. When Nuissia was born in 73, let's say, MSF had already established dominance in large-scale seawater desal, and electrodialysis was dominant in brackish water. Then we've seen the changes as RO came in about in the early 70s, began to eat electrodialysis lunch, and became dominant in brackish water treatment. In the 70s, mid-70s, 77 or thereabouts, RO began to come in quite strongly in seawater. About the same time, low temperature horizontal tube mechanical vapor recompression was introduced. That grew to serve a certain constituency. And then as it's progressed and RO has become the dominant seawater and brackish water technology, the thermal technologies have altered, they've improved, they've changed. They haven't gone out of business. They continue to remain with us. Vapor compression, thermal vapor compression, which is a small component, almost moribund in recent years, has been combined with multi-effect to build many of the new plants today. Just these constant changes and the improvements. Great improvement, of course, being energy recovery in RO, the new families of membranes themselves. The technology has not stayed still. It's been incremental changes mostly rather than breakthroughs, but the increments are continuous year by year. These incremental changes mean that the whole performance is just way beyond what it was 20 years ago. The regional distribution, 72, desalination was concentrated largely in the Caribbean, the Canary Islands, and the Middle East, and brackish water starting to come on in the U.S. And now we're seeing a shift in the center of gravity. As desalination has become less expensive, it's no longer being sold to the rich, it's being sold to where the people are. And where the people are is not so much the Middle East or the Caribbean as it is in Asia. So we've seen this large shift from Singapore on up through China. And we've seen the great example of Australia, which wasn't on the radar in 72. The fifth is the emergence of women in the desalination industry. In 72, and for many years, if you went to a conference or read the literature, this was an all-male club. But what's happening now, if you look around you at conferences or read the literature, you'll find more and more women becoming involved at all levels. And this is, I think, important just from the practical point of view. Why waste talent?
I'm happy I will attend first IDA Congress in China this year, and I hope IDA members from China will quadruple by next year. I am happy also to see IDA and IDA Academy building bridges of cooperation and exchanging knowledge and innovation among nations. This is very important as more people need desalination. And since we are all responsible to prepare the new generations of future leaders in desalination, I encourage all experts to be mentors for more people from their community, from their family, to take the future responsibility. I would like to thank IDA team, and headed by Patricia Burke, for their continuous effort over the last 40 years, which made all the difference. Let me share with you some of my personal dreams, which I hope we can find together room for investment and cooperation. Saudi Arabia is working actively to be a world leader in using renewable energy to drive desalination. That is a very important field. I'm also happy to see KAUST active in using water salinity and biotechnology to generate energy from water. That's also very important. Personally, I'd like to work with people specialized in recovering salt and minerals from the brine of desalination plants. I hope to see you all in China.
The future of the desalination business today looks bright. Why? Because today there are still a lot of people who have not access to water, and for which desalination is the only solution, particularly because innovation are still going on this activity. In particular, using solar energy, using wind energy, and also performing more and more on the development of the membrane and on the pretreatment. We are currently looking to develop some desalination pilot using pond heated by the sun, and which will then give some ability to produce via some thermal treatment potable water. So all this means that people are still developing innovation, and I am confident that the market is going to grow and in particular satisfy the community with a sustainable way. The future of the on this, in particular using activity, energy, using wind energy, and also performing more and more on the development of the membrane and on the pretreatment. Looking to develop some desalination pilot using pond heated by the sun, and which will then give some ability to produce via some thermal treatment potable water. So all this means that people are still developing. We are currently innovation and solar. I'm confident that the market is going to grow, and in particular
Academy building bridges of
satisfy the community with a sustainable way. The future of the on this, in particular using activity, energy, using wind energy, and also performing more and more on the development of the membrane and on the pretreatment. Looking to develop some desalination pilot pond using heated by
During my time in the desalination industry, I've seen rapid expansion in the Asian region, in particular throughout Australia. Desalination, especially reverse osmosis, has moved from being a water security option to being a necessity in areas around the world. The cost of membranes has fallen, making them comparative to conventional treatment. During my career, I've seen membrane plant installations go from the first in their kind to the norm and becoming a preferred solution for new installations. The IDA has fostered a desalination professional community where new ideas can be discussed and innovative ways of desalting water can be developed. The IDA has included young professionals and helped them advance their career in desalination. The IDA has encouraged the delivery of ever larger and more reliable and affordable desalination plants. The IDA supports professionals to continuously improve, which is great for their own work, their organisation's work, and the industry as a whole. The IDA offers opportunities to learn about the latest technologies, industry developments, and expand your network. In the future, we will see further education and engagement of the wider community in the benefits of desalination, support for developing nations with affordable, low-tech solutions that are easily mobilised, continued training for people new to the desalination industry, thus improving the quality of our industry as a whole. Strong commitments to awards and scholarships as the next generation of desalination experts seek to showcase and enhance their work. Members from around the world drive the future of the IDA. We should continue to build on these strengths and capitalise on shared knowledge, experience and opportunities.
Well, I've been lucky and privileged to have been involved with desalination for nearly 40 years. I started at a time when desalination was really for times or places where there was no alternative. It was expensive. And nowadays, instead, it is much cheaper, reliable, varied technologies, and it is really competing with the traditional water supplies. When I got involved with desalination, just imagine, all the capacity installed in the world was about 1 million cubic meters per day. Nowadays, just one plant can be this size. And just to give you an idea, today we have installed capacity which is equivalent to about 20 times the flow rate of the River Thames in London. And it serves already over 1% of the world population. So quite a significant development. And the International Desalination Association has really accompanied this development and in the same years has multiplied by 10 their membership, and it has provided the desalination community with a focus, with a forum where in fact experiences could be exchanged, gathered, and I'm sure that the IDA will become even stronger and more important and will keep developing with the technology. Obviously, we cannot be complacent. The IDA will have to listen to the demands of a changing desalination community, but I'm sure it will be able to respond. And the technology will definitely develop faster and faster because water supplies around the world, unfortunately, are limited. Quantity and quality is getting less and less, and therefore desalination water reuse really provide a solution or a partial solution to these problems. The technology is only the beginning of its development. Just think of membranes and the development of their technology. If you think that our human body just works for the capacity of tens of wonderful and very sophisticated membranes that can separate hormones, salts, and other substances in our bodies and allow us to live. And it's really a complex of ultrafiltration, microfiltration, reverse osmosis. So in this variety which allows life, we will find I'm sure the inspiration to develop more and more technology which will assist mankind to develop in a sustainable way.
My name is Prakash Govindan. I am the co-founder of Gradient Corporation. At Gradient, we develop cutting-edge technologies for the toughest water problems, but the highest value water problems. IDA has played a tremendous role in helping out desalination professionals and the desalination industry as a whole in terms of providing information, providing for networking opportunities, and so on and so forth. Since I've been in the desalination industry, I've seen tremendous growth even while I was a PhD student at MIT. Large-scale plants in Australia, in Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East, in India, and so on and so forth. So this has come about because of two reasons. One is the increase in consciousness of us as a society to be careful about what we discharge into the rivers and the oceans. And two, because of the opportunity, because of new technology requiring more water, like hydraulic fracturing in oil and gas. With respect to the future, like we have seen in the past couple of decades, stalwarts like Leon Awerbuch, Rick Stover, Tom Pankratz, who have been mentors for me via IDA, they have managed to reduce the energy consumption and the cost of seawater desal, specifically seawater RO, MSF, MED plants, from high levels to levels where it is commercial. Similarly, I am confident that my generation will be able to develop desalination technologies which are decentralized, which can do zero liquid discharge in inland situations, even with tough water streams like produced water from oil and gas wells, which is what we are concentrating at Gradient on.
In anticipation of IDA's 40th anniversary, part of the aspect of looking back over these years of my career in IDA is all the things, frankly, that I've been grateful for. IDA's provided me personally with an enormous opportunity to try out ideas, bring people together, develop technologies, and throw the ideas of those new technologies around in an industry that is very welcoming and always thinking about how we can do desalination more cost effectively, better for the environment, all the aspects that we as the technologists in the organization like to focus on. And there has been a big transition over the last years that I've been, and it'll be 30 years for me personally this next year, when I started doing research in R&D and desalination technologies in the early days of the membrane use. And I think a lot of the transitions that we've gone through have been really focused on how can we make this better for the users, the end users, the people that need the water supply. And part of that, again, is always about cost and how we can drive the cost down, how we can drive the energy consumption down. There's also the aspects of the environment and how can we make this as environmentally friendly as possible. And there's an energy component of that, of course, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. There's some parts of the world that have just been so impressive in the last 10 years, particularly in using renewable energy for driving entire large-scale desalination plants. And IDA's played a role in all of that along the way in trying to bring together the great minds of this industry and pulling people from other industries in together to discuss these ideas and how we can go forward with these technologies and do a better job. So I think as much as anything for me, IDA has provided this platform and foundation of good friends, great technologists, free thinkers that have been able to develop an industry that's meaningful and provides value to the world.
growth of the desalination industry has been very impressive during the last 3 decades. Future Pipe Group, my company, has been in this sector for over 20 years, supporting it by supplying its arteries, so to speak, as we are in the pipe business. Myself, I've been an active IDA member for the last 20 years, an active officer and a director for the last 12 years, and a past president. The desalination sector is growing rapidly, and the figures speak for themselves. Today, an installed capacity of approximately 79 million cubic meters per day, from only 48 million cubic meters per day in 2008, is a testament of this phenomenal growth. IDA has impacted the industry profoundly, from less than 100 members in the 70s to approximately 2,500 members today. It's quite impressive. From the humble beginning, from what our group chairman Fouad Makhzoumi, who was also a past IDA president, used to say, we started it in Pat's kitchen, where IDA's first meeting took place, to where we are today in China, one of the most vibrant economies in the world, is a testament how IDA has led in growing, educating, and promoting desalination and water reuse across the globe. IDA will continue to be the most prominent international body recognized and respected in this sector, and will continue to promote through its core values globally desalination and water reuse, as can be seen from the ever-growing affiliates across the globe. IDA will always act as bridge between stakeholders, technology providers, and end users. Happy 40th anniversary, IDA.
I've been involved in the water industry my entire career, and first got involved in the desal industry in 1980. And after becoming involved in the membrane area, I was immediately convinced that membranes were the future. Although I did do a fair bit of work on the thermal side, most of my efforts in the desal industry have been on the membrane side. And in the last few years, we've seen the membranes really take off since, especially the late 1990s. Membranes have really come into their own and changed the face of desalination. The thermal desal industry is still a big part of the industry, but membranes have really pushed the envelope. And we've seen some very interesting changes, even in the membrane side of things. And not only has the performance of the membranes improved, so has the energy efficiency. The costs have come down. The longevity of the membranes has increased, and it's been very interesting to watch all this unfold over the past 30 years. And it was also one of the most interesting aspects of my career is that I was able to meet some of the people who really built the industry, the guys who developed the RO membrane itself, some of the guys who developed and patented the first multi-stage flash and MED technology. So it's been a great career, and it's been great watching the industry evolve.
Hi, my name is Devesh Sharma. I'm the Managing Director of Aquatech. I'd like to start by wishing the IDA a very happy 40 years. It's a great achievement. And in the spirit of this 40th anniversary celebration, I'd like to talk about the desalination industry. past, present, and future, and the IDA's role in shaping this industry. Technologically, the IDA has always kept up with its excellence in providing support for seawater desalination technology, but it's also evolved to provide platforms for other areas such as industrial reuse and issues in oil and gas, and this could be exhibited by its recent conference in Alberta, Canada. Aquatech has had a long-standing involvement with the IDA for the better part of the last 40 years, initially through our Aquachem subsidiary and in the past decade on an overall basis. And if you look at the past, what we saw throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I would categorize it as extreme focus. On technology side, there was a heavy focus on very few technologies, namely thermal, MSF, MED, and then eventually membrane technology. Geographically, a lot of focus on established, developed markets, such as the North American market and the Caribbean, and also the Middle East. And also a lot of focus mainly on seawater desalination. Not much talk about the other forms of desalination. But that then brings us to the last decade and the present. We've seen a critical enhancement of the existing technologies. We've seen better pretreatment, operation at higher temperatures of thermal desalination, and all of this has made desalination more economical and reliable than we've ever seen it before. Geographically, we've seen a lot of expansion of desalination to other markets such as Spain, Singapore, and Australia. And we've also seen in the present a lot of talk of not only seawater desalination, but other forms of desalination, such as wastewater reuse, particularly wastewater reuse, which is a very important issue. Now, when you look at what the future will hold, in my opinion, technologically we'll see an explosion of new technologies, which we've already started seeing, such as forward osmosis, membrane distillation, and many, many other exciting technologies. Geographically, it's all going to be about emerging markets, China, India, Africa, and from the broader scope of desalination, we'll see a lot more focus on niche areas such as industrial reuse, municipal reuse, and general conversation about the energy-water nexus overall, which is a big issue when it comes to water. Well, when I think of the IDA through all of this, I think one word can sum up the IDA, and that's evolution. The IDA has supported the industry throughout and helped evolve the industry in all of the aspects that I just mentioned. Geographically, the IDA has promoted diversity with growing events all over the world. There's no better way to give an example of this as here we're at the IDA World Congress in Tianjin. And most importantly, I think the IDA has evolved with regards to its role in social impact, from things like the Young Leaders Program and scholarships, which is bringing up a new generation and the next generation of desalters, to most recently when I was watching TV and I saw the president of the IDA in an interview on CNN. Water scarcity is an increasing reality, and the IDA has established itself as the go-to organization when it comes to issues surrounding desalination and safeguarding of the environment and ensuring sustainability at all times. I look forward to the next 40 years of the IDA, and I hope I can participate and be part of the organization's continued success.
Hi, my name is Miller Truby. I work for H2O Innovation. I've been an active member of the desal industry for about 8 years now and have been somewhat involved with IDA for most of that time, due in part to the fact that my father is Randy Truby and that he's been in the industry for going on 40 years now and has always been somewhat involved with IDA. I've always held IDA in fairly high regard simply because as a kid I was lucky enough to travel to some of the conferences and some of the shows with Randy. Got me out of school, got me to see parts of the world that I probably never would ever get a chance to see otherwise, and got me interested in the water industry, and here I am now 8 years into my career. And I've been around long enough to see a few iterative changes in the industry, certainly some growth, bigger plants going in around the world, the big influx of the seawater desal plants going in everywhere where there's coastline, and the improvement in efficiency from a material standpoint in almost every aspect of the desal industry. That's been improved, I think. I think IDA has a very unique and special role, and one that is highly valuable but in a very indirect way. And what I mean by that, if you'll allow the extended metaphor here, all of the different companies that provide pieces and parts in this industry, we're all working on our own individual threads. And what IDA does is it sort of works as a loom. It puts everything together so that you can actually create a sort of industry tapestry, if you will, and then everybody can stand back and actually see the pattern. That's what IDA does. That's what they've always done. That's what they should be striving to do. And that's, I think, what they've done very well over the past 40 years is allow all these different individual companies and end users and engineers and designers to stand back and look at the industry as a whole and see the pattern, and then with that information they can choose whatever they want to do with it, whether they want to ignore it, whether they want to try and react to it, whether they want to look at the pattern and try and predict what the next thing is going to be. That's what IDA does, and I think that's what IDA has to continue doing in the future to be relevant and to be helpful, and it's a driver of innovation. Companies like mine, we look at the papers, we look at the results that IDA puts out, and then we try and react to it so that we can be ready for the next step. I think the changes in the industry going forward, at this point, the water treatment industry is so well established, it's on every continent, big and small. I think now the next thing is just going to be some iterative changes in the materials and in how things are used and how the improvement of life cycles and things like that. And IDA has to be there to prove out that information and to make sure that everybody's playing honestly and everybody is on the up and up as far as the results they're getting from the changes that they make. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Randy Truby, and I'd like to congratulate the International Desalination on its 40th anniversary. When I started in the reverse osmosis membrane industry in 1969, that year we sold $1 million worth of reverse osmosis membranes all over the world. That included brackish water membranes and seawater membranes. And in fact, this is an example of a typical seawater membrane of the day, 2.5 inches by 14 inches. And that was as big as we made. In fact, we hadn't introduced the 8-inch diameter element at that time. So the total sales was about $1 million, and today we have sales of in excess of $800 million annually for reverse osmosis, about 35% of which is seawater membrane. So you can see the desalination industry has grown. It's grown rapidly and significantly, and IDA has played a major role in enhancing and facilitating that growth. One of the things that happened in the early days is we tried to give papers, and when we went around to conferences around the world, we struggled to find a good place or a venue to do our seawater and membrane papers. One of my first conferences was the American Institute of Chemical Engineer Conference, and we gave a paper on RO membranes at the time, and there were very few other membrane companies at that conference. It became obvious that an organization that specialized in membranes, desalination, and water reuse would be a great benefit to the market, including helping promote the thermal processes that had been in existence for many years before membranes came along. So IDA has filled that role and filled it very nicely. There are a number of affiliates of IDA, AMTA in the USA and EDS in Europe, WUSTA in the Gulf region, and other new affiliates coming along rapidly. And this together has really helped enhance and facilitate the growth of reverse osmosis membranes. In the future, I see this continuing with new affiliates joining rapidly, and I look forward to the conference in Tianjin being a big success with our new affiliation in China. So once again, congratulations IDA. We wish you all the best.
Hello, my name is Ian Watson, and I am very pleased to be able to offer this message to you as part of IDA's anniversary podcast. I have been in the industry for many, many years, over 40 in fact, and I've seen tremendous growth in the desalination industry during that period of time. 40 years ago, a half MGD plant treating brackish water was a large project. Today, we see examples of projects desalinating seawater in excess of 100 million gallons a day, as is the Sorek plant in Israel. This is very gratifying for somebody like me who's devoted their entire career to this technology. I think IDA has played a very important role in promoting this growth through understanding, education, and perhaps most importantly, through bringing to attention the relatively benign aspects of the technology compared to alternative water supply schemes such as large-scale impoundments and the like. Perhaps one of its most important roles, I think, has been to alert regulators to these benign aspects, to allow for the development of desalination while mitigating the relatively minor environmental impacts that such projects have on the environment. I see this role for IDA continuing into the future as water supplies throughout the world become stressed, and we can see that by the expansion of the technology, particularly seawater desalination from the Middle East to now a global solution. And it's critical, I think, for IDA to continue in its role as educator and missionary in order to provide to the world this relatively drought-free and safe manner of providing drinking water to those who are somewhat less fortunate than many of us. We've seen this in Florida. Brackish water, RO, and nanofiltration have become mainline technologies in this state. It's very rare that you see south of the Interstate 4 corridor any water supply project that is something other than membranes. My best wishes to IDA for continued success in the future, and my congratulations on an excellent past.